My sister stood in my kitchen, practically spitting fire, calling me selfish, heartless, even soulless. All because I wouldn't lend her $2,000 for a yoga retreat in Tulum. She screamed about family, about what mom would have wanted, about how I only care about money. What she didn't know? I'd just finished secretly paying off $38,000 of our father's debt. Debt he took on trying to keep our childhood home. I never asked for thanks. But when she started dragging my name through the mud publicly, I decided silence was over. I'm Kyle. I'm 32, live in San Diego, and work remotely as a freelance software dev. I've never been flashy. I save. I budget. I keep my head down. My younger sister Hannah? Complete opposite. Always chasing some new spiritual awakening, retreat, or cleanse. She talks about vibrations more than rent. After our mom passed 5 years ago, things shifted. Dad spiraled into depression, his finances imploded. Hannah cut contact, saying she needed space to heal in her own way. I didn't blame her at first. But then the calls started coming. Collectors, past due notices, threats of foreclosure. I couldn't let Dad lose everything, even if he'd made some dumb choices. So I started covering things quietly. Hospital bills, loans, credit cards. Meanwhile, Hannah was in Bali learning how to breathe with purpose. I didn't resent her. Not yet. But when she called me selfish, after I refused to fund her next luxury retreat, that was the moment I knew she had no idea who I was anymore. And if you stick with me, you'll see why she regrets ever opening her mouth. It started on a Wednesday. I remember because I was knee-deep in debugging a nasty backend loop when I heard knocking. Not the polite kind, more like the I forgot my keys again kind. It was Hannah. She walked in like she owned the place. No text, no warning. Just breezed past me with that big smile and a turmeric latte in hand. God, your apartment has such grounded energy, she said, plopping onto my couch and stretching like a cat. This is exactly what I needed today. Translation, she needed something. Did you come here for a reason? I asked, already tired. She blinked like I'd interrupted her yoga session. Why are you so tense? I just wanted to connect. You're my brother. That was her warm-up. Then came the real pitch. So listen, there's this retreat in Tulum. It's about reclaiming feminine ancestral power, detoxing scarcity mindset. You know, soul work. I didn't know, and I didn't care. She leaned in, eyes wide like we were 10 again, and plotting to steal cookies. I need a tiny bit of help covering the deposit. It's just $2,000. I let that sit in the air. You're kidding. No, she said, laughing nervously. It's nothing for you. You work in tech. You literally make thousands in your sleep. That's when my jaw tightened. Hannah, for the past 8 months, I've been covering Dad's debts. The hospital bills, the foreclosure notices, the loan sharks. You know, the stuff you ignored while you were cleansing in Bali. Her smile faltered. Okay, but what does that have to do with me? It has everything to do with you, I said. You vanished when things got hard. And now you want money for a vacation dressed up as spiritual growth. She stood up fast. Wow, you really are bitter. I came here hoping we could reconnect. And instead, I get guilt-tripped. I didn't abandon anyone. I protected my peace. No, I said. You just protected your bank account. That was it. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, I had 11 missed texts, 3 voicemails, and a group chat on fire. What's going on with you and Hannah? Is it true you refused to help her when she was desperate? She said you laughed in her face. I opened Instagram, and there it was. A black and white photo of Hannah, teary-eyed, hand over her heart. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to love you the most treat you like garbage when you're at your lowest. All I asked for was a little help. But I guess money matters more than family. Hashtag blood is thicker, hashtag toxic brothers, hashtag healing alone. I felt my blood pressure spike. I didn't want to respond. I didn't want to be part of whatever self-made drama she was performing for her 3,000 followers. But then Aunt Renee called. Then our cousin Darius messaged me saying, "Bro, is this about you?" That's when I knew she wanted to humiliate me. Not just privately, publicly. So I made a folder. On my desktop. I called it Receipts, Hannah. Inside, I dropped everything. $12,500 in hospital bills I'd paid last fall. $5,000 wire for Dad's house lien. Screenshots of my messages with Dad about debt collectors. A photo of the foreclosure letter, addressed to me because I co-signed. I didn't post any of it. Not yet. But I started drafting something. Not for Instagram. For protection. I wasn't going to let her control the narrative forever. Later that day, Dad called. He sounded tired. Why is Hannah saying I'm in a home and you abandoned me? My stomach dropped. What? That's what she's been telling people. That you put me in a home and ghosted. I sat down. Hard. I'd been paying for Dad's apartment and meds for almost a year. I visited twice a week. Hannah hadn't called him in 6 months. And now she was spreading lies like I was some heartless son stashing him away like a dirty secret. That was the moment the switch flipped. She wanted to play the martyr? Fine. But I was done playing the villain in her story. Next time she opened her mouth, I'd be ready. I'm a developer. I log things. I archive. I document. Hannah forgot that about me. Or maybe she never really knew. That night, after Dad's call, I sat down and organized every relevant detail. I wasn't just collecting receipts. I was building a case. Folder, family records. Subfolder, Hannah_claims_versus_reality. I started with bank statements. Highlighted every payment made to Dad's medical providers. Color-coded them by month. Added screenshots of Venmo transfers to Dad. Annotated with meds, utilities, rent cover. Then came the texts. Our thread was mostly one-sided. Him thanking me, apologizing for the debt, asking not to tell Hannah because she wouldn't understand. He was right. She wouldn't. I included a message from 2 months prior, where he wrote, I hate that you're carrying this burden. Just know I see it, son. That one stung. I even had the email thread with the bank when I negotiated down a late penalty on his second mortgage. This wasn't just me defending myself. It was about truth, about Dad's dignity, and about making sure, if this blew up, I wouldn't be the one covered in ash. I sat back, looked at the timeline I'd built, start to finish, and realized something sickening. Hannah hadn't just been irresponsible. She'd been calculating. 2 of her retreat payments from last year were made on the exact days Dad's accounts defaulted. While I was getting threats from collections, she was posting sunrise selfies from a luxury dome in Sedona. I closed the laptop, took a breath. Then my phone buzzed. A new message. From my cousin Naomi. Hey, I don't want to take sides, but Hannah's telling everyone you manipulated Dad into changing his will. Excuse me? I called Naomi. What exactly did she say? She said you pressured him while he was on meds. That he was confused, and you tricked him into signing stuff. Said you always wanted to control the estate. I almost laughed. But it wasn't funny. Dad had asked me to get his affairs in order, after she ghosted for nearly a year. The will wasn't even new. It just rerouted his assets into a trust to prevent Hannah from blowing them in one weekend. I didn't pressure anyone, but I'd just been handed a clue. She was scared. Why else start spinning lies about a will she didn't know existed, unless she'd found out her name was no longer tied to easy money? I opened a blank document and started typing. Timeline of financial involvement. Kyle versus Hannah. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. But it was the foundation. And foundations matter when you're about to dismantle someone's house of lies. The invite came wrapped in fake warmth. Naomi texted me. Hey, we're doing a little cousin's brunch this Sunday at my place. Chill vibe. You should come. Hannah will be there too. Let's all clear the air. Clear the air. Cute. I knew it wasn't brunch. It was bait. But I went anyway. I wore a simple button-down, brought bakery muffins, and walked into Naomi's apartment like I hadn't seen the storm clouds forming. Everyone was already there. Naomi, her fiancé Jordan, cousin Darius, Aunt Renee, and of course, Hannah. Hair curled, makeup perfect, fake humble smile plastered on like stage makeup. Hey, she said, hugging me like we were still 5 and sharing juice boxes. We made small talk over quiche and mimosas, and I waited. I didn't have to wait long. Halfway through the eggs, Naomi casually brought it up. So, I think it's time we talk, openly. Like, really talk. There's been some tension. Understatement of the century. Hannah put down her glass and took a deep breath like she was about to accept an award. I just want to say, I felt really hurt lately. I reached out to Kyle when I was in a vulnerable place, and instead of love, I got hostility. She looked at me, eyes glassy. I know we all process grief differently, but Mom wouldn't have wanted us to turn on each other. Then she dropped the real grenade. And I hate bringing this up, but I found out Kyle changed Dad's will. He's isolating him, controlling access, controlling everything. Everyone turned to me. Silence. I sipped my coffee. Then I stood up, pulled my phone from my jacket, opened voice memos. I thought this might happen, I said. So let's hear from Dad himself. I hit play. His voice came through, shaky but clear, recorded 3 weeks earlier. If anything happens to me, I want you to know I trust you to manage things. Hannah, she's not stable. Not right now. You've been here. You've handled everything. I'm grateful, son. I let it finish, then handed the phone to Naomi. The room was quiet. Hannah's face went pale, then flushed. He was probably confused. No, I cut in. He asked me to record that. Said he didn't want there to be any doubt. I pulled out a manila envelope from my bag and placed it on the table. Inside, copies of the will revisions. Dated, signed, notarized. I turned to the group. I've paid off nearly 40 grand in Dad's debt. Alone. Hannah didn't even send him a birthday card. And now she's telling people I'm manipulating him. No one spoke. Not even Naomi. I leaned forward. You called me selfish, Hannah. But I think we both know who's been looking out for this family. She stood up fast, knocking her chair over. This is an attack. I came here for healing. You came with receipts. That says everything. Exactly, I said. It says I'm done being your scapegoat. She left without another word. And that's when I realized. She wasn't just embarrassed. She was scared. Because now, everyone else had seen behind the curtain. 3 years ago, Dad called me late at night, voice shaky, breath shallow. I don't know how much longer I've got, Kyle, he said. And I don't want Hannah blowing everything on mushroom tea and moon crystals. That was how it started. Back then, he'd just come home from the hospital. He'd been diagnosed with a chronic heart condition and had already missed 2 mortgage payments. The house was drowning in liens. His pension barely covered groceries. And his will? A generic, decade-old template leaving everything equally to both of us. Equal didn't make sense anymore. Not when I was paying off debt collectors, and Hannah hadn't called him since Mom's funeral. So, with his full consent and a very thorough lawyer, we changed it. The new version placed everything into a trust. His savings, his insurance policy, and whatever was left of the house value once I cleared the final liens. The terms were clear. I'd serve as trustee. Hannah would still inherit a monthly stipend, $400, but only under 2 conditions. She maintained weekly contact with Dad. She stayed substance-free. Dad insisted on both. She needs structure, he said. And you're the only one who ever gave it to her. I didn't argue. Fast forward to now, after the brunch ambush, and it all started to make sense. Hannah must have caught wind of the updated will. Maybe from Dad's neighbor. Maybe she peeked at the mail. Maybe she just guessed. But whatever the source, it explained her desperation. Her sudden need to reclaim the narrative. Her Instagram monologues about family betrayal. She wasn't trying to clear the air. She was trying to clear the path back to the money. I met with our lawyer again, just to be safe. Showed him Hannah's accusations, screenshots, voice notes, even the fake legal threat she texted me last week. He laughed dryly. Classic panic play. But don't worry, she has no case. Still, I wanted Dad to know what was happening. I didn't want to hide it. So I drove to his apartment with Thai takeout and told him everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at me, that tired but steady gaze he'd always had when he was still a cop. You did everything right, son. I just wish it didn't have to be you carrying all this. I'm okay, I said. I just want it to stop. He nodded. It will. When she runs out of people to lie to. As I left, he grabbed my hand. Don't feel guilty. Not for any of this. You gave more than anyone ever asked. I didn't cry in front of him. But when I got to the car, I sat there for 10 minutes, gripping the wheel, eyes burning. That night, Hannah posted a quote on Instagram. When you expose a narcissist, they'll pretend to be the victim. And for the first time, I smiled. Because projection? That's her favorite pose. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Not from a court. From someone calling themselves James C. Farley, legal mediator. It was printed on thin office paper. No watermark. No firm name. Just a Gmail address at the bottom and a bolded header. Intent to pursue legal mediation for emotional damages and inheritance manipulation. I nearly laughed. It read like ChatGPT wrote it after binge-watching courtroom dramas. The letter accused me of coercive financial control, undue influence over a vulnerable elder, and, my favorite, emotional displacement tactics resulting in sibling distress. I looked it over twice. There were spelling errors. 2 paragraphs were copy-pasted from what looked like a Reddit thread. So this was her move now? Legal cosplay? I called my lawyer, forwarded him the document. He didn't even try to sound serious. "This isn't a real legal threat," he said. "It's a bluff. And a bad one. Still, I wanted it documented. Just in case she tried something real later." What worried me more wasn't the letter. It was the fact she thought this would work. That somewhere in her brain, she believed her behavior could be justified with enough smoke and mirrors. She was spiraling. And when people spiral, they get sloppy. Later that week, I got a DM from a guy I hadn't heard from in years, Liam. Hannah's ex. "Yo man, I saw your name come up in a convo with a friend. I think we should talk." I gave him my number. He called that night, awkward at first. "I know we've never been close," he said. "But I think you deserve to know. Hannah's been throwing your name around for years." "What do you mean?" "I lent her $15,000 back in 2021. She said it was temporary, that you were helping your dad and would eventually clear it for her, because family always takes care of family. She even showed me a screenshot of one of your transfers, out of context, like you'd agreed to help." I sat there jaw-locked. "She used my name as financial collateral?" "More like your existence," Liam said. "I only found out she never told you when I asked for repayment last year, and she ghosted me. I asked him to send everything. The loan agreement, the texts, even the fake screenshot she used. He did, and I saved it all to the Hannah folder. I called my lawyer again. "This changes things," he said. "If you wanted, you could file for defamation. Hell, Liam could go after her too. But I didn't want a lawsuit. Not yet. I wanted Hannah to understand that I could bury her socially and legally, and I hadn't. That was the leverage. This wasn't revenge for me anymore. It was insurance. Because when someone plays victim long enough, they forget you've been watching the whole time, quietly, patiently. And when you finally speak, you speak with evidence." I didn't sleep much that night. My thoughts ran circles. Hannah had lied to her ex, weaponized my name, and now she was trying to legally intimidate me with fake documents. It wasn't just manipulation anymore, it was fraud adjacent. And yet, part of me still hoped she'd stop, that she'd come to her senses and call me, apologize, say it all got out of hand. Instead, the next morning she posted a reel. Slow piano music. A voiceover reading. "Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from family." The caption? "Energy doesn't lie. Blood isn't always sacred. Hashtag narcissistic abuse, hashtag movingen." I closed the app. Enough. If she wanted to turn this into a saga, I'd write the final chapter. I opened the file Liam had sent me. It was worse than I thought. Screenshots of her telling him I was helping with all the big family stuff, and would totally cover her until she got back on her feet. A PDF loan agreement, clearly typed up in a Notes app, promising $15,000 repayment within 6 months. Dated 18 months ago. She hadn't paid him a cent. Then I saw the clincher. A fake Venmo screenshot. My name, $3,000 transfer, with a caption edited in, "Got you covered, sis." It was an obvious Photoshop. The font didn't match. Still, Liam bought it. For a while, I asked if he'd be willing to write a statement confirming everything. The loan, the lie, the fake screenshot. He replied with one word. Absolutely. Within 2 hours, I had a signed affidavit in my inbox. Notarized. I added it to the folder. At this point, it was practically a legal museum. And then I remembered something. Dad had asked me, months earlier, to handle some storage cleanup. I'd kept a box of his old paperwork, loan agreements, utility bills, even some old voicemail tapes. I pulled it out from the closet and started digging. Halfway through, I found it. An envelope marked "Do Not Trash, Estate." Inside were notes Dad had written after Mom's death. Bullet points, scribbled in pen. Financial goals, updates, thoughts on Hannah. If I'm gone, Kyle handles the house. Hannah gets monthly support. She's too impulsive with lump sums. Do not give Hannah control. She doesn't think past today. It was dated. In his handwriting. I took a photo of each page. Saved it to the drive. And just like that, the picture was complete. I didn't need to convince anyone anymore. I had digital receipts, audio recordings, a legal will, a witness affidavit, and now, Dad's handwritten notes confirming his intent. It wasn't just that Hannah didn't deserve the trust. It was that she'd already betrayed it years ago. She just thought no one had noticed. But I had. And now, so would everyone else. All that was left was to decide how to show them. I waited 3 more days. Not because I had doubts, but because I wanted to be calm, controlled, strategic, and because the truth, when delivered quietly, cuts the deepest. That Sunday morning, While sipping my second cup of coffee, I logged into Facebook, then Instagram, then Twitter, and I posted the same thing on each. No commentary, no venom, just a single message. I've stayed silent out of respect. But when silence is used as a weapon against you, you have a right to respond. For those asking what's really been going on between me and my sister, here are the facts. No drama, just receipts. Attached, a Google Drive link titled Clarification and Context, Family Matters. Inside the folder, a timeline of every payment I'd made toward Dad's debts, annotated with dates and sources. Scans of the notarized will and trust agreement. Screenshots of Hannah's social posts versus reality, with names redacted for privacy. The affidavit from Liam, with a note explaining its context. Dad's handwritten notes on his estate intentions. One audio file, Dad's voice memo, thanking me and explaining his trust. No insults. No spin. Just evidence. I disabled comments. Set the privacy to friends and family. Let the facts breathe on their own. Then I closed my laptop. It took 15 minutes. First message, Naomi. Kyle, oh my God. I had no idea. Second, Aunt Renee. I'm sorry I judged without asking. Third, Darius. You buried her. Respectfully. By noon, Hannah had deleted 5 Instagram posts. Her Facebook went offline. Her last story, some passive-aggressive quote about truth being subjective, vanished by dinner. She didn't call me. But that night, she sent one message. You ruined me. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply, because I didn't ruin her. She did that herself. I just turned on the lights. Later that evening, I called Dad. Told him what I'd done, in broad strokes. I spared him the digital details. He was quiet. Then he chuckled, a low, raspy sound. About time someone told the truth, he said. We didn't talk much after that. We didn't need to. There was peace between us. And for the first time in months, I felt something settle in my chest. Like a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying had finally slid off my back. I didn't need revenge. I just needed the truth to have a voice. And now it did. 3 weeks later, I stopped by Dad's apartment with a bag of Chinese takeout and a 6-pack of that off-brand root beer he loved. The heat outside was brutal, but inside, his place was cool, dim, and calm, like a little island away from the storm. He was in his recliner, TV muted, watching the shadows on the ceiling. Hey, kiddo, he said, his voice a little thinner than usual. Smells like heaven. I unpacked the food, grabbed plates, and we ate in mostly silence, the good kind. Comfortable. Familiar. He looked tired. Older than the last time. His hands shook a little when he reached for the chopsticks. You holding up okay? I asked. He nodded. More than okay. You've done more than anyone ever should have had to. There was a long pause. I could feel it coming. I know it got ugly with Hannah, he said. I never wanted that for either of you. I know. I still love her, he said quietly. But she's not the person I hoped she'd grow into. I didn't reply. You think I failed her? He asked suddenly, eyes locking with mine. I swallowed. No. She made her choices. You did everything you could. He looked away. I just wish she'd seen what you were doing. You gave her more than she ever gave back. I leaned forward. I didn't do it for her. I did it for you. That made him tear up. We sat there, picking at cold dumplings, watching the afternoon light slide across the carpet. Eventually, he asked, so what now? I don't know, I said. She's quiet. Probably regrouping. But I think she knows I'm not the one to push anymore. He gave a dry laugh. Good. She needed a wall. He reached into the side drawer and pulled out an envelope. What's this? Just a little extra. Lawyer said it's fine. From my savings, not the trust. You used your own money to keep me afloat. I didn't forget that. I opened it. A personal check, $9,000. Dad, don't argue, he said. I won't be around forever, but I can damn well say thank you while I still am. I didn't argue. We watched an old detective rerun after that. He fell asleep halfway through. I covered him with a blanket, cleaned up the plates, and turned off the TV. At the door, I looked back. He looked peaceful. That was the last time I saw him lucid. He passed away 5 weeks later. Hannah didn't come to the funeral. She sent a text the morning of, I'm processing this in my own way. Please respect my boundaries. No one asked where she was. No one even mentioned her name. For the first time, her absence was a blessing. Dad passed peacefully in his sleep, just after midnight on a Thursday. No drama. No pain. Just a quiet ending to a long, complicated life. We honored his will exactly as he wanted. The trust was executed cleanly. I handled the logistics. Henna got her monthly stipend, the bare minimum, automated, no contact required. She moved to Arizona a month later, changed her number, deleted her accounts. Last I heard, she was starting over in some desert commune. I haven't reached out. Neither has she. And honestly, that's fine. Some stories don't need a reunion. Just closure. People still ask why I didn't fight back sooner. Why I let her drag my name, twist the truth, rewrite history. But the answer's simple. Because when you fight back too soon, no one hears you. But when you wait and show the receipts, you don't need to scream. You just press play.